people can chime in on the chat. So if you want to monitor the chat on your phone simultaneously as you broadcast with me, you can do that. Just check that link I sent you. It's right on my YouTube. On your phone simultaneously.
Cool. I can
So
chat
we
from
are
my
live,
YouTube
technically.
account as well. That's cool.
I think we're live.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, it says live.
Part. Yeah, because we're live, but I gotta find the chat. YouTube makes this stuff so freaking difficult, man. Yeah, okay, here we go. Yeah, we're live. So I gotta tune into the chat. Yeah, we got a few people in here already. What's going down?
Cool.
Shout out to Class E. Shout out Lanisha Barnes. Shout out Mac Joseph, Philip Banks, Real DJ Funky D. Oh, Dreamlife is already in here. I was about to shout out Dreamlife.
You can still shout me out. Man. Like, cool. All right.
No, I'm not shouting him out. So what's going down, man? A lot of people ask me how they get placements, and I never have a good answer for them because the way pretty much every major placement opportunity I've had has gone down has been different. You know, each time is a different scenario. So I want to talk about one in particular because this is the first of its kind that I've ever experienced. And now the cat's kind of out of the bag. I was a little unsure of what I could discuss with regard to this new Wiz Khalifa record, but Static Selected went on with Illmind live, or not live, pre-recorded on Genius. It was Genius, right?
Yeah, it was Genius.
And talked about what went down with the sample clearance and so forth. So I'm not saying anything that hasn't already been said when I talk about this. But first, I want to absolutely introduce two people that made this thing happen. In addition to Static Select, of course, Dreamlife, who you should be familiar with.
Yes, sir. What's good? What's good?
And then, of course, Stacktrace, who you should also be familiar with, even though he's a little bit of a recluse when it comes to social media.
A little bit, yeah. I'm not too good with it. What's up, y'all?
So I think what's ironic, too, is that even in 2019, I'm still getting into these stupid-ass conversations with people about, selling beats online versus the industry. And if you watch the entire Static Selected conversation with Illmind, he addresses it, and we addressed it in our conversation on BeatStars, which was that he wasn't really feeling the selling beats online thing, which is, look, I wasn't either, and I'm glad he said that, and I'm glad that conversation is out there because shout out Lifestyle did it, he's in the chat, because we have to be honest if we want to move on from our biases, and a lot of those things have held us back. I know me being against licensing beats online held me back, and so I think it's ironic that somebody like Stat, who's very anti beat licensing,
he's very old school.
But you were part of this, and we talked about this because I mentioned it to him a couple of times. You mentioned it to him a couple of times. I think Trampy mentioned it to him a couple of times, and finally he just broke down and called me, and I was like, really? Okay, what's up with it?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, bro, people are. I know my man Dreamlife made like 3 million yesterday, so
3 million, man.
Definitely something you should mess with.
Yeah, man. Five Maybachs sitting in the drive right now. No, but something that did come up between. I was actually in the studio with Static Selector, and he kind of pulled me up on the beat leasing thing. He was kind of like, so what's the deal with that? Is that something you're going to do forever, or is it kind of just like a way to get quick money? Like, I think there's a lot of people that have a misconception over what it actually is. So we chopped it up for a little while about what beat leasing had done for me in my life and my career, and I basically broke it down like this. I said, man, without selling beats online, I literally would not be stood in this room right now. So I broke it down to him, and I think you know, that conversation sort of may have helped him, you know, look at BeatStars and sort of things of that nature a little bit more. I know you spoke to him, as you mentioned. So I think a lot of the time, the people that are sort of are against beat leasing, I just think it's because there's a lack of information sort of from people that are actually living off it, for them to sort of come to their own conclusions about it. Because I mean, you can understand why people think it's cheap. Like they go on a website and they see, like, you know, free beats for $50. I mean, I get it. Like, I get why someone might look at it as being cheap, but you know, at the end of the day, they are licenses. We're not, you know, there's no exclusives getting sold. So I get it, but I think it just needs to be explained in the right way to people.
But it came full circle, because another opportunity that I don't think any of us would have gotten if it weren't for this online beat licensing business is to work on this Wiz Khalifa album that just dropped, Fly Times Volume 1, The Good Fly Young. And I think that's the real irony, because I met Static Selector a while ago through iStandard, but I had to meet Dreamlife through BeatStars in order to link back up with him on a more collaborative environment, which was, you know, our whole collective, which we haven't really even talked about, but
right,
that's coming.
Yeah, we definitely will.
So you had been sending original samples to him, and it finally got to the point where he talked about it. Let me see if I can play the clip and tell me if the audio works. I'm gonna try to play the clip from the conversation with Illmind on Genius, and hopefully it works. Let's see.
Now that's a pretty cool effect, I must say.
Yeah.
One of the records, they wanted 80 grand. Never seen that in my life ever. And I was like, they were basically, his manager was like, no, I don't think the record's gonna be out. And I was like, nah, dude. It was like 11:30 in the morning. I was like, I'm going to the studio right now, replaying it. And we went in, we replayed it. Shout out my man Dreamlife in London. He helped out with
that. Didn't work, did it?
Can't really hear it, man.
Yeah.
Played it so good.
Let me try it again. Hold on.
It sounds too much like the same.
Yep, there you go.
Records on Wiz Khalifa's album that came out like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
One of the records, they wanted 80 grand for the sample. I've never seen that in my entire life ever. And I was like, they were basically, his manager was like, yo, I don't think the record's gonna make the album. And I was like, nah, dude. It was like 11:30 in the morning. I was like, I'm going to the studio right now and replaying it. And we went in, we replayed it. Shout out my man Dreamlife in London. He helped out with that. He had people from all over the world sending in pieces to replay it. And we replayed it so good that they were like, nah, it sounds too much like the sample. We had to do it 5 times. I'm talking about in a 24-hour process. We did it 5 times over to the point where it got approved. And finally it made the album. And like, if I didn't do what I did, song would have got scrapped. I would have took the L. You know, Wiz would have been frustrated. But like, I don't play, like the turnaround in 2019, the same way you open your phone and can reply to things, you need to be like that with your music, because you will miss the opportunity. If you're like, oh, I'll send it tomorrow. Nope, see you later.
Let me ask you.
Records on Wiz Khalifa's album that came out like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
One of the records.
Yo, I'm back. That worked, right?
Yeah,
that worked. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so $80,000. They were trying to charge.
I think later on in the interview, Static actually gave a bit of background as to why they might have just produced that number out of nowhere as well. He said that the publishing whoever owned the publishing was part of this big Wall Street group, you know, that just buys loads of publishing in hopes to make loads of money. So that it was one of those kind of deals there. So I mean, if you're out there just randomly sampling records and you get some bad luck and you end up with someone, you're trying to clear a record and it's owned by someone like that. I mean, it's not going to look good for you. So I think that was the background of why they were charging $80K.
Who has 80,000 to clear a sample in 2019?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, for 80,000, for $8,000, you can hire the best session players ever to make something completely new. We didn't get paid 8,000, but the point is, that set the stage for us to come in and create what, like Static said, we recreated it. Which at first I was like, why do they want us to recreate it? Because they're still gonna have to clear it. But then we obviously had to create something completely new, and then that was the challenge. Because what happened was, and this is from our perspective, it got approved, and I didn't tell anybody about the Wiz placement because I get nervous. What if it doesn't happen? What if something goes wrong, right? So yeah, none of us said anything, and then I think it was April 11th. You sent me a DM. You're like, bro, it's not gonna happen. I was like, damn it. See, this is why I don't.
Yeah.
This is why I don't talk about these things.
Yeah, basically, I just got told that it's still too similar. They don't want to risk it. And I knew exactly what part of the sample they were talking about as well. And what actually happened is, so we initially sent Static 3 versions of a replay. One that was exactly the same, and then one that was kind of slightly different, and then one that was completely different. They were the 3 versions that we sent. And he kind of, he sort of made his own production, combining all 3 of the variations that we sent. And I heard the record, and it was super crazy. I was super happy with it. I felt like that's exactly how it needed to be. But
I didn't even notice that at first.
Right.
When I listened to it like the 3rd time, I was like, oh, that's the bridge part. That was my 4th version.
Oh yeah, no, that's what they did on the final version. But the sort of version that they said got approved but then didn't, still had a few things that were same as the original sample in. So yeah.
Was it the piano?
It was the piano. It was the same pattern. It was the same pattern. And the funny thing is that we actually had, or I had right here, and I don't know if I sent it to him in the first versions, but I had a variation of that piano that was it was completely different, but exactly the same feel. So when he hit me back with that, I was like, you know what? I bet it's that piano. And I told him, I said, I reckon it's that piano. That's what they're pulling you up on. And then there was like a Rhodes lead as well that was exactly the same. So I was like, it's probably those 2 things. But then I think me and Payne, we just went off on one, and we just created some completely new shit. I think just because, I don't know, man, might have been the inspiration or whatever. So we actually made 3 new versions. So there was actually 6 variations in total. And we sent them over to Static, and he hit me straight back. He was like, yeah, this is it. Like, and he actually did a version where, like Payne just said, they used one of the variations that was completely different as like a bridge, which I thought was crazy as hell. Like if you listen to that song, the song's called Taylor Life, you'll notice like maybe like a
pre-chorus section.
Yeah, like probably like a minute and 40 seconds in, I think there's like the beat switches up completely, but still works as like a bridge. And that was basically just one of the other variations of the original sample that we did. So it came out super dope.
I'll play it because the way that the order went, it was Dreamlife DMs me, sends me into a state of anxiety and hysterics, and then I just jump into my studio and start playing. I'm sitting there just sweating like, man, this has to happen. This plate, because at that point it was like my pride was on the line. I'm not gonna lose this damn place. I was having a rough day. I don't remember what went down that day, but it was a rough day, and I'm like, if I lose this, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna be mad for the whole month. And so I'll play. So I started this idea, and I play keys kind of, but not the way that Stacktrace does.
Right.
So then it goes to him, and then from him it goes to Dream. So maybe we can play it in sequence so you can hear the evolution. It's going to sound completely different by the end of it. Now I got to switch. Hold on, let me switch my sound card. 1 second.
So that was version.
So that was
5 or something.
Could
That
you
was
hear
version 4 and 5.
Uh-oh, I can't hear anybody now.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Why is this just not easy? Okay. Could you hear the DAW?
Yeah. Yeah, we heard a
So
track.
the first part that I played, that was the pre-chorus that they ended up using, right? That's
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
But-
so I sent all that stuff over straight to everybody.
You sent that to me,
Yeah.
and then what I did was I combined that with parts of the first couple that Stacktrace sent me, and I added like a little flute line over the second half of it. I don't know if I can. I don't think you'll be able to hear. Hang on, let me try.
Just turn it way up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to unplug my headphones real quick.
That's actually a great bit of producer advice. If you have flute in your track, turn it way up.
Yeah, dude, flutes for the win. All right, let me screen share this.
I was just thinking about that. What sounds in hip hop have never gotten old? Flutes have lasted for a while.
Yeah, like
vibes.
leads.
So,
I mean, Rhodes and
808.
piano. That'll never get old.
True.
so this is variation 4. This is like what you just sent, and then these tracks here are like a stack trace. I think this bottom one here, Addictive Keys.
Yeah, that's me.
That's one of the tracks that Stack said he really liked. Oh, what's that sound? I really like that. And then I added vibes and flute.
And then it flips right back. Yeah, it's just that short little part, 8 bars.
Yeah, and then it flips back to.
Oh, you say them as totally different sessions. You live on the edge.
I don't even think it's that, dude. I think it's just like I'm so unorganized with files, man. Like it's not even funny, bro. Like my New Year's resolution was like stop losing beats because you can't remember the name of them.
At least you're naming them properly and stuff.
Well, there's always next year.
So I'm trying to find like. I think
that looks organized to me. You even have
really organized.
File.
Oh, because this is what I sent out to Static. So like,
okay, so that's why it's organized. Yeah,
but on my end, it's complete chaos. So I think what I'm just about to play is pretty much like the combination of everything we did, and I think it's real close to what was used as like.
Let's try the serum. That's got to be Steve.
Yeah, the serum was me.
That's that Stacktrace.
Yeah, that high thing was me too.
All right,
Yeah,
so
I want to see your session too, Stack, because
yeah,
you lived up to your name and you stacked all
stack.
these pianos.
Well, yeah, I remember you guys were like, once I sent over the original one, which was pretty mellow, you know, it was pretty straightforward piano roads. I think I was getting ready to go to bed. I'm like, okay, cool. I sent it over. You guys liked it and stuff. I'm like, cool. Okay, probably that's the end of it. And right before I went to bed, I looked at my email and Dreamlife sent over a thing. He's like, let's do a couple quick variations real quick and let's see if we can get it done tonight. So
You were
went
like
back in the I was like, all right. So I got out of bed and I went right back into the studio, and that's when I added the serum thing and the high part. There's like that staccato, like 16th or 8th note thing, and then that high part. And I think like that atmospheric sound was already in there. But I just
mean the wind,
yeah, the wind sound. The wind was already there.
You added that, like you both added that separately.
Okay.
And then I think I picked whichever one I liked the most out of those two. So
yeah, I mean, I didn't spend more than
sample. Like there was a wind sound in the background of the original sample. So I think that's something that we were trying to emulate. I think
because like the original, like the interpolation, I spent like probably an hour on that.
Yeah.
But when you emailed me and I went back in the studio, I spent no more than 7 minutes putting that stuff together, and that ended up getting used. And I was like, oh man,
that's how it goes.
Surprised by that. Yeah.
The interpolation was cool. I'm happy that we got to do something original, but it was funny that, I mean, the interpolation, the original informed us on which instruments to use, then when Atlantic rejected it, it was back to the drum. But I was in here, I had come back after doing something that pissed me off. So I was like, I'm not losing this damn placement. So I just sat there.
But I mean, it wasn't like as stressful as it sounds, though. I mean,
it was for me.
Was it? And I was like sitting here like, damn, we're killing this, bro. This is out of here. Like
it wasn't stressful for me because I wasn't aware of some of those things that were going on.
Yeah,
so I was like, okay,
I didn't tell you, like, because I know you were
you're high strung
family.
Yeah,
and, I didn't want to bring that through. So I was like, yeah, let's just do a couple more ideas right here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
man.
appreciate that.
But I was so happy with how it turned out because like you were just saying, P, like I wouldn't have felt that accomplished if they just used the same, like it's just the sample replayed of it. I would have been like, but because it's a completely original production, like there's not even one element that's the same, like in any way. So I thought that was really dope. And also I think that opened my eyes as to what is possible using other pieces of music as an inspiration and a direction for where you want to go. Because I mean, we all know there's incredible music from every age out there that you can pretty much just listen to on YouTube. So something that I've always done is kind of listen to try and get a vibe, is to listen to certain music and kind of try and emulate it and kind of try and do what we did on this Wiz track. And I've actually produced some really cool original samples using this type of technique. And I think it's a really cool technique. So this kind of opened my eyes back up to that as well. So I thought that was pretty dope.
So we have some questions coming in. Let me put my glasses on so I look smarter. Bufo wants to know what kind of EQing you use Dreamlife when attacking those stacks of Stacktrace keys.
Yeah. All right, so like basically on any keys that are obviously a VST that I'm trying to make sound like a sample, I'm using API, the Waves API EQ, and I'm pretty much just messing around with there's some of the stock piano EQ settings in there. Like I pretty much stick that on everything that I'm trying to make sound real. A little bit of compression as well. Nothing too crazy. In my opinion, it's more about where it's sitting in the mix rather than the individual sort of effects or VSTs or plugins that you add to it. I think it's more about where it sits in the mix. So not a crazy amount done to it, some light EQ and some light compression. And I'd say that's probably a pretty good rule of thumb for most things. Just don't go too crazy on the VSTs if you're trying to make it sound organic.
Yeah, not just my 2 cents on that. I don't EQ pretty much anything before I send it over to him, because I know he's going to do things and I want to leave room for him to do his work, right? I don't want to process the hell out of my stuff and then send it out to people, because then they don't have much room to be able to do anything with it. Even like compression and stuff like that, I'll try not to do much of that, you know, because you need bandwidth to.
That's helpful. That's helpful, actually.
Yeah, a little bit of headroom.
Yeah, like basically, if I'm sort of let's say in this particular instance, I was kind of manning the mixing or the engineering side of things in this particular example. So for me, when I'm getting pieces of music back from the people that I'm working with on the sample, like the drier they are, the better, because I can't reverse EQ or I can't reverse compression. But if I get everything dry, then I can just kind of do what I want with it. So that really helped in this particular scenario, that everything that I got was kind of just dry and ready to be processed. So I think that's an important thing. Like if you're out there collaborating with producers and, let's say you're working on a track that's got like 3 or 4 guys, just be careful not to overdo any of the effects that can't be later reversed, unless they just ask you to send dry versions as well.
Yeah, and even you don't want to overdo the playing. Like if you're, making a bass line, don't make, you got to leave room, because at the end of the day, there's more going to be added to it. There's going to be a lyricist, there's going to be possible singing, vocalist. You got to leave room for all these parts. Otherwise, the thing is just a busy mess. So, simple is better.
Agreed.
So the next question is, how do you qualify someone when it comes to co-production? His words, not mine, or hers or theirs. Do you only work with people that bring something different than your skill to the table, or do you work with someone on the same vibe? I mean, definitely all of us have different skill sets.
We all have different skill sets, but a very similar vibe. I would say that's pretty much it, man.
Yep.
There's not really any rules, but like I would say the most important thing, in my opinion, is, do you actually vibe with this person, like as a person, before a musician? That's kind of what it is for me. I don't really like working with people that I can't mess around with and sort of, crack a joke with. That's just not my idea of fun. So like that's one of the qualifying aspects for me. And then after that, I've been blessed to work with people that are just super dope. And I honestly haven't had too many bad experiences where I've been like, oh my God, this guy sucks. Like, it hasn't really happened to me. So, I kind of just go off of the vibe of the person, first and foremost, really, and then just go from there.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The vibe has got to be there. The hang has got to be there. Like, back when I was on tour, like I remember people would say, you got to live on a bus with people, so you better figure out a way to get along with them. And if you all are going to vibe on the bus together, you're going to put on great shows every single night. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with, outside of the studio. If y'all are vibing and hanging out, you're going to make great music together too. And on a personal level, it's got to be there. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, because music. What is music? It's essentially just energy. So if you're not vibing off the energy of the people you're working with, then how good is the music going to be?
And they got to smell good too, especially if you're going to be on
hygiene.
The tour bus with them.
On the tour bus,
Hygiene's got to be there.
All right. Next question. Do you guys okay? So MC Norard wants to know about the engineering of this track. I have no idea. Did Static mix this track? Because when I talked to him, he says anywhere possible, with the exception of like an Eminem record that he did.
Yeah, he mixes everything.
Yeah,
he mixes. He mixes absolutely everything. Like he even mixed the vocal. Like he would have had the vocals and he would have mixed the vocals.
I don't know who mastered it then. It might have been
yeah.
Wiz's people, maybe ID Labs. I don't know.
I'm not sure about that.
Check the credits. That's the beauty of the new Spotify credit system.
Very nice.
Someone else wants to know, how do I know when I have the perfect mix to put up for sale on BeatStars? Yikes.
You never know, man. You never know for sure. I've been mixing for a long time, and even now, I don't know when I've got the right mix. Like, a mix is never finished; it's only abandoned. So, like, the answer is you're never gonna know. You just gotta make sure it feels right first. I mix for feel, and I think that's a good rule of thumb. If it feels right to you, just trust it and go with it, and you'll just keep getting better with every mix.
Well, let me ask you this, because I talked to M16 about this, and we we're talking about the low end, because the low end is usually the part that gets dirty and gross sounding for a lot of people, and that's the problematic frequency range for a lot of producers. And I shared that once I got a reference sub, my mixes changed quite a bit for the better, and I would listen to beats that I used that I had made a month before getting the sub, and I can't stand them anymore because just the bass is too crazy. So what kind of tools or resources or plugins do both of you use to make sure that doesn't happen?
Hey, go ahead, Stack.
Man, that's a tough one because I still struggle with that. So I'm first and foremost, I am not a beat maker, so I don't spend a lot of time in the low end.
Making freaking beats then.
Yeah, I mean, so like my low end is just a bass line, right? Or like a low piano part. That's pretty much my low end. Maybe I'll drop in a kick drum as a reference just to see, because I'm going to usually give it to Pain One or anybody to add a beat to it. So I kind of got to know what that's going to sound like. But I mean, so for bass lines and stuff, I try to keep it. So, I mean, what you want to do is like try to carve out frequencies in whatever instrument you're working with. Think about the frequency range of that instrument, and then go in there with a high pass and a low pass and cut out any of the, ultra high frequencies or ultra low. That way, that's not going to muddy the mix. You don't want to keep all that's doing is muddying the mix. So if you put the low pass and the high pass on every track and just slide it to where it needs to be, you're going to cut out the junk, and that'll help clean it up.
Yeah,
kind of a quick and dirty way.
I think that's like pretty much the essence of mixing is just making sure everything is in its own space. I think that's basically the essence of it. Outside of that, I personally reference all my mixes. I have 3 or 4 tracks that I like to reference. If I'm working on samples, I'll reference samples that I've mixed in the past that I know people have really liked. And if it's beats, I'll reference beats that have sold really well. And I just do that on every beat. And I don't take long to reference them. I probably listen to the reference for like 10 seconds. And then if I need to adjust, I'll do that. But it's more so to have a peace of mind for me to know, okay, yeah, this is up to scratch with the reference. Let's go. And then I'll just put it out. Like, I tend not to overthink my mixing, kind of try to get it done. So yeah, I mean, in terms of bass, I think Stacktrace pretty much summed up the main thing. Just make sure your kick drum is not in the same space as your bass line. And that actually something you can do with that is, a bit of compression as well. That there's a bunch of cool stuff you can do with ducking the bass line out when the kick drum hits. There's a whole world of stuff you can do that's pretty simple. So I definitely search that on YouTube and get a grip of it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of like younger producers get frustrated when their 808s are clashing with their bass lines, and it's like, well, of course they are, because you're right next to each other. So if you hear that weird vibration and you hear those frequencies beating together, your 808 is going to be clashing. So you could find a way to maybe there's a bunch of tricks you could do, but I've seen that over and over. It's like the low end just gets muddy because you have a bass line clashing with your 808s. You basically have 2 bass lines going at the same time.
And
So
yeah, I agree with that. And I think the other thing, and I'm only speaking from experience here, is that when I first started making beats, when I was probably a kid, I was like 14, 15 years old. A lot of my bass lines just weren't in tune. Like they weren't in tune. Like let's say I sampled a piano off a record, like my bass lines were not in tune. I hadn't developed an ear to sort of do that at that time. So I was always like, man, I was thinking it was the mix. Like, why are they clashing? Well, because they're not in tune. So sounds basic, it's, you know, but it's, you know, that's another thing that I do hear, and I hear it sometimes on BeatStars and on YouTube where the bass line it doesn't sound mixed properly because it's actually out of tune. So that's the other thing, is to make sure everything is in tune.
Big Shot Beats wants to know how we met.
How did we meet? That's kind of cool how we met. It's kind of cool. Go ahead. Yeah.
So I met Payne One quite a while ago at a beat battle. He was a judge, and I was an a competitor. And afterwards, we talked, and it just went from there. But I met Dreamlife last year, so through BeatStars basically. But it was before that. Payne One was telling me about A3C in Atlanta. So and he's like, man, you got to come down to A3C. So I finally came down to A3C, and that's where I met Dreamlife and a bunch of other dope producers. And we did sessions down there. And again, going back to what we were talking about, vibe and that hang in the studio, it's like right away that was just there.
Yeah, we knocked out like crazy amounts of beats, like not even trying. Like they just came out. It was crazy.
Yeah, and we were hanging out, and we went that one morning until like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, just making tracks. And I felt like we could have gone even longer. It was crazy. So, and we had to take advantage of that time because we were only going to be together for a very short period of time. But, that's how it came together for me, at least.
Yeah. So that's pretty much how I met Payne and how I met Stacktrace is through BeatStars. At one of the conferences, and just kind of vibed and started collaborating, and the collabs always came out super fire. So, that's kind of how it's something to invest more time into.
Yeah, man, A3C changed my life. I met everybody, including Dreamlife, in 2017 at A3C, and then it was just kind of like the little BeatStars contingent, and I felt like the imposter because I didn't really have anything going for me.
Well, no, when you came back from BeatStars in 2017, the way you were telling me about it, I'm like, oh man, I gotta go to this. I didn't even, when you came back from A3C, I mean,
yeah,
I was like, I gotta go to this.
I'm in a damn room with Dreamlife and B Demons and DG and the Crates, and then like we blink and suddenly the Crates go diamond and they're the biggest producer in Europe. Yeah. So it's crazy. I mean, the last one was dope too.
Yeah.
But we were all in a house. We were BeatStars just put us in an Airbnb. What was the guy's name? Stu, who owned the Airbnb? It was Stu, wasn't it?
It had to be Stu, man.
The wireless.
Yeah, and the master bedroom. There's a big ass picture. Like you can go to Walgreens or whatever and blow up a picture to mad big and put it on poster board on the wall. There's like this super big picture in the master bedroom right by the bed that you slept in that room, and then on the last night you're like, hey man, you can have this because I gotta fly. It's this big ass picture of Stu like aggressively kissing his wife.
The weirdest, it's like the cheesiest thing I've ever seen, man.
Yeah, I see why you gave me that room. What other questions do we have coming in? I don't know. Someone asked us you can answer this. I can't answer this question. Someone wants to know what the good ratio for dry wet on your kick /808 is on parallel compression. I don't know.
Yeah, there just isn't an answer to that because it depends on what 808 you're using. It depends on what kick you're using. It depends on so many things that there just isn't like one set answer to it.
Yeah, I don't.
To be honest,
honestly, man, YouTube is just the answer to everything. I mean, you can go on YouTube. There's a good low end bass to kick mixing tutorial that I believe Waves put out, and obviously it's that dude Diaz. His last name is Diaz. He's mixing a track. It you know, he's doing it live. He's showing you how to carve out space, and I don't even think he's using parallel compression, but he's using Waves plugins. Obviously, you don't have to use Waves plugins. You can translate that to pretty much any multi-band EQ. But he's showing you how to do it, and you know what I mean. It's a great example of what to do.
Like you said, YouTube and like Facebook groups like Pensado's Place for you know, there's all these people just hang out in these groups. You can ask questions and you get like instant professional answers from people. It's amazing. Like it's all at your fingertips. I mean, and it's free. You just gotta go look for that.
Yeah. Someone's asking. People keep talking about side chaining, and yeah. Do either of you use RBass?
I use Max Bass instead of RBass. I use Max Bass. I think it's really dope. There's a couple of cool things I do with that. I use it on most tracks, but sometimes like sometimes it completely overpowers the bass, where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna take this off. It's a little bit too much. But yeah, Max Bass. I have RBass, but I haven't used it as much.
I used to use Max Bass. For some reason, I like RBass more. I don't know. Someone wants to know, can you talk about the format of songs, since most songs are under 3 minutes now? I don't. Okay. Well,
we didn't have to worry about that for this track. Really formatting it.
We just pretty much had to produce an 8-bar loop. I think we produced an 8-bar loop, and it might have become a 16-bar loop, just with different things that we were adding. So, you
know what I did notice though, Dream, your beats, whenever we collaborate on something, my beats tend to fall around like the 3.5 minute mark, and yours go to maybe the 4.5 minute mark. And I started thinking, well, if I'm uploading beats for rappers and singers to license, it's better that they have more than less, because it's way easier to just fade something out than it is to add on an extra measure, right?
Yeah, I agree with that, and I know for a fact if let's say I upload a beat that has like an intro, a hook, 2 verses, I know someone's gonna say, "Hey man, look, I'd love to buy this beat, but I need you to add a verse on," and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna add a verse onto it. So I'd rather just have it longer so that I can just say, yeah, just cut it down, rather than having to add stuff on for people to lease it.
Yeah, and I'm the king of unfinished, man. It's 8 bars, 16 bars, 32, and then I send it to other people, and they do all the arrangement and finishing, because I just can't seem to finish a damn thing. You know,
that's dope though.
Yeah, I mean, it's worked for me, but I do wish I could sit down and actually finish things. You actually told me that one time, Dream.
Yeah, man.
Finishing tracks is
in my opinion, that's the quickest way to level up making beats.
Yeah.
I went through like I went through a summer where I was like I did something crazy where I was like, it was like 3 months. I was like, I'm gonna finish 5 beats every day. And literally finish them like from front to back, like completely mixed. You know, I'm ready to send them to artists, or I'm ready to upload them. And that really got me into the process of, like, I know this sounds bad, but finding shortcuts on how to finish beats. Like, you know, you find certain formulas that allow you to finish a beat quicker, because you've just done it over and over, that, you know, okay, if I drop this drum out here and I sort of do this effect here, then it's going to sound like that. Well, yeah, that will probably work on this beat. You know, and you kind of just develop like a mental catalog of ways to finish beats that are dope and really quick. Because, man, like before I was like you, Stacktrace, I was like not finishing beats. And it hurts to have so much stuff on your hard drive. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to finish every single beat I make. And like whenever anyone asks me, like on Instagram, like, how can I level up? I'm like, finish every beat you make.
Yeah. And even just the discipline of doing that
Yeah,
You know, even
sometimes it sucks. Like sometimes you're like, I'm not even fucking with this beat anymore, man. But even at that point, like when I reach that point with a beat where I'm like, I'm not fucking with it anymore. I'm like, okay, let me set a timer. I'm gonna finish this beat in the next 10 minutes, and I'll literally do everything in 10 minutes to have it as closest to finish as I'm happy with, and then I'll just forget I ever made it.
See, that's the critical piece right there. That's a time management piece. Plus, a lot of people would just get frustrated and be like, "Oh man, my beats are trash. Oh man, I should just quit this stuff," you know. And you can't do that. You can't do that. So you set a little time limit. You said, "I'm gonna be done with this thing in 10 minutes, and that's it. I'm not fucking with this thing again." So
yeah, exactly.
Okay, MC Light just I love when stuff like this happens. Congratulated me on 1 million BeatStars. I hope BeatStars retweets that. What was I gonna say? Here's a good question, and it makes me nervous just thinking about it. What's his name? Tech God wants to know, what's the longest break you took from producing?
Oh man, it was long for me. I know that. It was because I started out like in the 4-track days, and one synthesizer and a 4-track. Some people probably don't even know what a 4-track is. It's a cassette tape, all 4 tracks. So that was like 93, and I did that till maybe the late 90s, and then I stopped for a really long time. I probably only got back into it about 6 years ago. So a little bit of on and off in between.
So how many years is that, man?
I would say
math sucks.
98 is when I hung it up for a while. Maybe 2002 I did it for a year or whatever, and then 2019, 6 years ago, it was probably 10 years.
Oh, yeah, man.
About 10 years, yeah. I mean, I was doing it real light, but not serious at all.
Yeah, I kind of I had a similar story, but for not as long. I probably stopped making beats for like 6 years. I made beats from the age of 14 to about 20. And then between 20 and 26, I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my life, and I wasn't making beats.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, in 6 years, I did not even have a computer to make beats on.
And now you can't even imagine that, right? It's like,
right. But I always listened to beats though. Like I was always like trying to find instrumentals and beat tapes. Like I became more of a beat fan. And I think that helped me a lot when I actually came back into it. And one of the things that helped me get back into it is when I saw people start to upload type beats. And I was like, at the time, and this is funny because we're on a Wiz Khalifa thing here. I really liked Wiz Khalifa's production. I can't remember but you guys may not be able to remember, but the first song that he really blew up with, it was a Cardo beat. And I actually saw a video of that. And I was like, holy crap, that beat is so fucking dope. Like, and I hadn't heard of Wiz Khalifa before. So I YouTubed Wiz Khalifa instrumentals because I wanted to hear more beats on that vibe and Wiz Khalifa type beats. I started listening to all of them and I was like, shit, I could probably, I'm gonna try and get me a computer and start trying to make some type beats. And that's pretty much how I got back into it.
Using type beats, making type beats is lame.
I know, dude. What are we doing? Forget I said it.
Yeah, honestly, man, this whole internet thing is like the music revival for me. Just the community, the inspiration in the community, and the fact that I didn't even know that I was falling into some kind of musical depression, but I definitely was. I mean, just sitting around making beats every day and hoping that one of the sessions or one of the emails you send with those beats attached is going to result in a placement, and then 99% of the ones you make never see the light of day.
Yep.
As a creator, that'll mess you up. I mean,
so that's what caused me to quit back in like the 90s, because I came out with an album with a rapper, and we didn't even know what to do once we came out with it. Like there was no internet, there's nothing. You know, we couldn't check. How do we market this thing? So we were mailing it out to record labels and studios to try to get a record deal, and we didn't even know what a record deal really was. We just thought, oh yeah, we're trying to get a record deal, right? I guess. And nothing ever happened, and it was like, we had no idea what we were doing, but the music was still dope, and people in our local community loved it, and they wanted us to do more and stuff. But it was like, we didn't make any money on this. You know, there wasn't much label interest. I don't know what to do next, so we just kind of hung it up. So
right, but that was before the internet was.
Oh yeah.
So back in the day, you would have just been on the internet, just SoundCloud and getting fans. But before the internet, it was like, if you weren't going to do anything in person and with physical product, it was like, yeah, you'd have to hang it up, right? I mean, there wasn't an alternative.
We took our tapes to the mom and pop shops and sold them there, and we sold out. And then it was like, do we reprint these or what? And we just didn't do that. But yeah, we had no idea what we were doing back then. But at least I was learning all my gear and learning how to produce, learning how to run a studio, learning how to work with rappers, learning how to work with singers. I mean, I was learning like crazy, so it was valuable.
There's this debate going on in the chat about someone saying they know someone who makes 40 beats a day. I think that's a hyperbole. I think 100 a week is a hyperbole even. I mean, what happened in Austin? Oh, you weren't out there. Were you, Dreamlife?
No, I wasn't out there.
No, Kato was, because I remember Abe was like, man, I just saw Cash Money make 12 beats in an hour. I'm like, well,
but he did something like that shit. I mean, we did the collab sessions.
That's what it was.
Me and Cash Money in ATL, we were in studios next to each other doing collab sessions. Yeah, and I think we both got through maybe 8 or 9 beats in maybe 3 hours. It wasn't 40. That's not a ratio of 40 a day, but yeah, 40 a day is pretty crazy.
Yeah, my thing is my metric for hyper productivity is Cash Money AP, just because he's the person that I've seen do it. And yeah, I mean, he did make 12 or 13 in one session. So that was like an average of 4 an hour, I think. And where they mixed and mastered, yeah. And I'm pretty sure by the time the session was over, they were all on YouTube also, or at least all on BeatStars. So I don't know about that 40 a day, man. My whole it's like I got to get a bumper sticker that says if Cash Money can't do it, it can't be done.
Yeah, amen.
But I don't know. We've been on here for an hour, and I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Appreciate Dreamlife and Stacktrace for sharing the process. And I'm glad that interview dropped yesterday, because I was holding my tongue talking about the whole sample replay situation, because I didn't, that whole conversation makes me nervous. But they talked about it on Genius. So
I mean, I think it's a real life solution for a problem that I think we should have been fixed. It should have been fixed a long time ago. Sample replays. I know there's quite a few dudes that have had some success with it in the past, but not really consistently. So I think, for producers out there that are looking into sort of samples and stuff like that, sample replays, it's a pretty fun direction to go in. I'm excited about it.
Oh, that reminds me. Last question for both of you, because someone asked when me and Dreamlife's sample kits are coming out, and I don't have a good answer, so I'm going to completely change the subject and ask you both about your respective kits with DG, because both of you dropped kits recently with DG. It's this weird like love triangle, this producer love triangle with DG, because these are 2 separate kits and they're both very different. But talk about those, where people can get those.
Go ahead, Stacktrace.
Yeah, man. So I'm trying to think of DG's website right now. It's not coming to mind.
It's like
Sample
DG,
Plug.
Yeah, Sample Plug. Yeah.
Oh, no, not that one.
Shouts to DG.
Yep, sampleplug.com. If you go there and you go, I think it's under the uncategorized section. I'm trying to go there right now. Yeah, there it is. So if you go to sampleplug.com and you go to the uncategorized section, it's called Keys on Lock Volume 2. So I wasn't a part of Volume 1, but I am on Volume 2. It's got Benjamin on there as well.
Super dope.
Yeah. So basically, the way that worked is they did the raw ideas and they sent it over to me, and I played them, and I did like jazz and some pretty wild stuff with it, and we packaged it up as Keys on Lock. So check that out.
Yeah, dope, man.
I've used that kit already. It's great, and I've
cool.
also used the Craft as well.
Oh yeah, so me and DG have got a bunch of stuff as well. I've also got a sample site, thesamplelab.com. It's pretty much everything I've done so far. I'm going to be uploading a lot more to there. At the moment, I'm sending a lot of my samples out to placements before and kind of seeing how people react to them, and then later on uploading them to the site. But there's just sort of soul music, you know, it's the type of stuff that you'd flip for like boom bap or like soulful trap. It's that kind of vibe. A lot of it's, you know, live instrumentation. I'm super keen on that, and jazz and soul. So that's kind of my vibe. Yeah, that's the samplelab.com.
Cool. Samplelab.com. Check it out. Shout out to everybody tuning in. This broadcast will be saved, I believe, unless YouTube really wants to screw me over, and watch it again and again and again and enjoy it more each time. Thank you, Dreamlife. Thank you, Stacktrace. Peace, everybody.
Peace.